Oh, you're like, yeah, go pick up my girlfriend at the bar, go show us what you do. So I thought I was doing everything right, because I'm like, I studied this, I know exactly how to do this. And so I go up and I do my thing and I sit down and I thought I nailed it. And even starting to watch the video, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then you start talking, I was like, oh shit, I'm really bad.
So welcome to this episode of Becoming Fearless. Today we have Chris Alvino here. You might have seen him in an earlier interview, and today we're going to be diving in a little deeper and talking about where he's been and what he's been doing with his life. As some of you might know, Chris, well, I'll let Chris tell it a little bit, but Chris has really changed his whole entire life doing a lot of this work and really diving in and shifting his reality the way he did. I mean, he took responsibility for a lot of stuff. And I'll always remember the first time I met Chris. It was in Redondo, Manhattan Beach, wherever, one of those little areas right over there. It was at an event, and I went down and did a little demo. And Chris came up, and it was the whole exercise was I just wanted to see how he flirted with a girl, how he flirted and how he hit on girls and how he talked to a girl. And so I had my girlfriend at the time there, and he went up and flirted with her and talked to her, and I recorded it. And at the end of that, we looked at the footage of what he was doing. And if I remember correctly, Chris thought he nailed it, but then he saw himself on camera, and he looked more like one of the girls, talking and gaggling and having a good time with the girls, than he did like a man being grounded, solid, contained, and leading. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, before that, I had studied a lot of pickup artist stuff, and so I had spent like a year or two really getting into that world, going to all the seminars and watching all the videos and shit. And this was probably 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty while ago.
It was a long time ago. And so when I went to go, you're like, yeah, go pick up my girlfriend at the bar. Go show us what you do. So I thought I was doing everything right, because I'm like, I studied this, I know exactly how to do this. And so I go up and I do my thing and I sit down and I thought I nailed it. And even starting to watch the video, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And then you start talking, I was like, oh shit, I'm really bad. And yeah, my voice inflection went really high. I started walking on my tiptoes. I was standing on my tiptoes. I was very effeminate.
I forgot about the tiptoes. Oh yeah, that was
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're completely rejecting your masculine and you're becoming a woman, basically, because you're so you're so offended to be masculine, and you're so afraid to offend a woman by being masculine that you're basically becoming a woman. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. But one thing that confused me was your girlfriend was laughing and smiling, and we had lots of hugs and stuff, and I was like, but she's laughing and she's touching me, and she's like, but I'm not attracted to you. And I was like, what? You're not? And you were like, he's like a gay friend. And she's like, yes, exactly. And then for me, that was the start of a big phobia of being seen as gay. I was like, I never want to be seen as gay again. And then I just remember with Brian, I was like, Brian, if he can see it, he can fix it. And then that's when I signed up for all your courses right there, because I was like, you got to fix me. After a few months of workshops and going out and doing all the work, eventually I got my first date. I still remember my first date. It was at the Grove, and then I ended up I still remember making out with her, and I was like, what? It just happened. And then I took her home,
Was that the breakfast date? Because you told me about a breakfast
date.
No,
the breakfast date was much later. A ways later. Okay. That was when I was getting really good at it. When I met you, I was still a virgin, and it was I was a virgin until I was 26, 27 years old.
And I remember that.
Somewhere around that, and I'd never been kissed. Never been, I was on one accidental date where the chick got mad because I didn't know I was on a date, and this is senior year of high school. And she took me out. I didn't realize she had a crush on me, but she took me out and we went to a movie premiere and then we're in the parking lot just by ourselves talking. I'm like, this is a good conversation for 4 hours. And we're just talking all alone in the parking garage.
This is an important lesson. Just because you're talking to the girl for hours on end or laughing and giggling with the girl doesn't always mean you're doing well.
No.
So, then you're on.
I mean, well, I guess I was because she liked me, but I needed to make a move. And
this girl likes you, but I'm thinking of, so now I'm remembering all the stories. Chelsea,
yeah,
the previous girl, you were like her gay best friend. You could have talked to her for hours at the bar.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like we had such a vibe going, but it wasn't a sexual vibe.
Yeah. So this is the first girl where you're actually getting a really strong sexual vibe. And now you're
I didn't know it.
But you didn't know it because you couldn't see it. You couldn't recognize it. Okay.
I think my self-esteem and my belief in myself was so low because she was one of the it girls in high school. You know, one of the top girls in high school that everybody wanted. And, you know, like she was in band and cheerleading and choir and all that shit. And just, you know, amazing personality, smoking hot. And there's no way she could be attracted to me. I think I thought it. I remember thinking it at one point during the movie. I was like, is this a date? And I was like, no, this isn't a date, Chris. You know,
and I've seen this with clients where the girls are leaning in. Like I'm out there with them and the girls are leaning in, showing so much interest. And the guy's not doing anything because he can't in his reality yet. And this is one of the phases, right? I mean, almost every guy goes through this phase, no dates, especially if he's never had a date before, he's a virgin, no dates, to starting to date, and then not being able to accept that any of the girls that he's dating like him. So he's selfish. Yeah. And then continuing on from there. So keep going. What happened?
Oh, then she got mad. Like after about 4 or 5 hours, like her mood changed instantly. And then she like got very curt, super salty, drove me home. I was like, bye, it was good night. She's like, bye. She drove off. And then and it wasn't until the next day I learned it was an actual date because like a bunch of her friends came over and they were really mad. And I was like during lunch, and I was like, what's going on? Why are all the hot chicks mad at me? And it's like, I hope you had a good date last night. And I was like, wait, that was a date? And it was supposed to be a date. Like she was supposed to take them to the movie premiere. She took me. So she blew all of her friends off to take me. And I was like, what?
So now they're all mad at you.
So all the chicks were mad at me. And then like I called her up. I was like, let's go out on another date. And she's like, no, she's done with me. And then like I read something that's when I was like, if I broke it, I should be able to fix it. And so I start reading. I go online. I'm like, how do you get better at dating? How do you become attractive? How do you seduce women? And you know, that led me to like the pickup part.
This thing that before with the girl. Now this was before Chelsea, right? I'm getting
no. This is yeah. So we kind of went through 2 days.
This was in college or high school?
High school.
High school, okay.
High school. That's when I discovered the pickup community was high school.
Okay, so we jump all the way forward to Chelsea at some point. You start studying the pickup community before Chelsea, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in college, I did pickup, and I never got anything. And so then that was like 5 years of nothing in college. And then I met you maybe 2 years after college, 1 or 2 years after college when I was working. It's when I decided to get professional help. Because I was like, I had a swanky job. I was making 6 figures, living in a bachelor pad in Beverly Hills, still no women. And then that's when I'm like, okay, you got to get serious about this. And so then that's when I'm like, I need to hire someone. So I hired a coach. You know, my first coach wasn't very good, but then through him, I found you. And then I've been with you ever since because the Fearless stuff, you know, it actually works, actually changed me.
It does. And thank you for that. Yeah. I appreciate that because I know where your life went after this. So it was pretty powerful.
So that was the down and the dumps, Chris, was like no women, no self-esteem. You know, I was 100 pounds heavier. You know, that was the old Chris who would turn into a woman whenever he was attracted to someone.
That's right. You lost 100 pounds too after we started working.
Yeah.
So you really changed every part of your life.
Yep. Every single part.
Okay. And so was it right after that you ended up meeting me? It was just around that time. This is when. Yeah,
right after. So, right after I had that decision to hire a dating coach, like within a couple months, I met you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then from there, let's talk about how, because with a lot of the clients, what I'm looking at is what they're looking at is what am I going to have to do to change? What's this change going to be like? And now, let's talk about the timeline for you first. What happened after that, and what did it look like?
So I want to say we did a couple workshops together. Like I think we did a couple weekend workshops. Then I signed up for like a 3-month, and I think it was the 3-month where everything changed for me. So like altogether, it probably took, you know, the timeline was maybe 6 to 9 months, I think. depending on how the workshops were spaced out.
Now think about this, guys. 6 to 9 months, when you spent your life beating yourself up about women, not feeling good enough, not being able to get laid, not being able to even get a kiss, 6 to 9 months to change your reality in this area. And I'm not talking about to change your reality to the point where you just get a date here and there, but really change it to where your whole lifestyle is changing. You're dating on a regular basis. You know, you're having sex now. You're no longer a virgin. It's not bad. That's getting in there and doing the work. Most guys, what they want is give me a few techniques to change over the weekend. And unless you're already almost there, like you're right on the cusp of that, you got all your shit together, that doesn't usually happen. Now there's the guy that comes in that's on the cusp. I wasn't that guy, and Chris wasn't that guy at the time. So, but we can all become that guy.
Yeah.
And really shift our reality. So continue on.
So like from there, you know, and mind you, like I don't think I had any dates in those 9 months, you know. It took, but I think I felt things shifting, you know, things were shifting. And even when things weren't shifting, I still believed, because I still believed in that moment where I was like, Brian saw it. He's the only guy who's giving me any evidence that he could fix this. So there was like this real big belief in that. And then like I'm used to being coached. I like being coached. I've been coached my whole life in different aspects, like academics, music, weight training, all the different things. And it's just like, to be coached, you just have to let go, you know. So there's a big part of me that lets go when I'm being coached. You know, sometimes I fight, you know, but I at the beginning, especially at the beginning when we first started, there was a lot of just, I don't know anything. I think now I'm like, oh, I know some things. I've been around the block, so there's a little more fight in me. But when we first started, there was a lot of just, I'm just gonna let everything in. And just, I still remember the moment when a big shift happened for me, one of the first big shifts, because we had to do like 100 highs was our homework. Do 100 highs at the 3rd Street Promenade. And I hated it. You know, and we were by ourselves, like this was just the take-home homework. So you just had to go out and do it by yourself. And I went out and it was like 2 or 3 hours, and I got 5 highs in 2 or 3 hours. Okay. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And I just remember I had this thought when I was at there was a crossing light, and it was red. And I was like, when it turns green, I will just say hi to every single person, no matter what, until I get to the next stop sign. And then it turned green, and I was like, hi. And and it just overrode all of my anxiety, all of my traumas. It overrode everything. And then I was like, oh, I could breathe. It's like, how many was that? That was like 25. I was like, oh my God. Okay. And then
5 in 3 hours to 25 in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I did 100. Yeah, I did 100 like in 10 minutes or something like that. It was like 10 or 15 minutes once I did it. But it took 3 hours to get there to that place. Because there's all this fight in me fighting. But there's like, for me, what I think excels me a lot is my main value in life is courage. Yeah. And so when I feel the fear, I step into it. I might fight it, you know, it might take a long time for me to step, but I always step. And then that's what makes the change. And I think a lot of guys don't want to step. They don't want to step into the fear. They want to change without paying the price, without paying that price of being courageous.
So your main value in life is courage. So when you feel, this is huge because you've never said this before. Your main value in life is courage.
Yeah.
You feel the fear, you want to step into it. And I think that is absolutely enormous.
I was going to say, it's not that I want to step into it. It's like I don't want to step into it. And I think that's where sometimes it might take a while, but it's like, it's part of my DNA. Like I have to, it's like a calling. Yeah. And so my want is safety, but the calling is courage. So there's fight. And
but you never give up then.
No, I never do. Never.
That's the key is most guys, what I see a lot of is that there's that sense they feel the fear and they think the fear is all there is.
Yeah.
They don't see the other side of the fear and how good does it feel when you step through that fear to the other side?
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's when I feel like a man. That's when I feel alive.
And that's when your self-love is increasing.
Yeah. And every woman I've ever been with, they all say the same thing. And it's funny though, because I don't see it or feel it, but they all say like, you're the most courageous man I've ever met.
Yeah.
Every single woman. Like the woman I'm with right now just said it last week. And I was like, really? You've only known me for like 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, she knows me a lot. Like we've done a lot in 3 or 4 weeks, but it's like, okay. like, I don't know. Part of me still feels afraid all the time. I mean, I do. I feel afraid all the time. I just step into it.
Okay, let's reframe that a bit. If you look at your life, Chris, and the amount of fear that controlled it from when I first met you, it's like just the simple little tasks. And you look at those same tasks today, like walking up to a woman like Chelsea or some other woman and saying hi and staying grounded, staying on your heels, feeling your back, feeling your balls, feeling your turn on, all these simple little tasks. How much more do you do that today without even thinking, without feeling fear, right? Because the areas you feel fear in now are bigger. They're bigger mountains. It's like before I was climbing a little molehill by my house, and now I'm climbing Mount Fuji, or I'm climbing Everest, right? And I have fear when I climb Mount Everest. So the fear doesn't go away.
The fear is the same. It's always the same feeling. It's just around different things. Yeah.
Around bigger things now.
Bigger things. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the key. Okay, continue on.
So,
by the way, guys, if you haven't heard his whole story, when you get towards the end of his story, that's where the magic. You see how much this guy changed. He's actually, and I haven't said this yet, but he's actually a sex coach. How do you say it? How do you prefer to say it?
I say a sex and dating coach.
Sex and dating coach.
Yeah. I might change it in the future.
Okay. And there's a reason for that. So he started out as a virgin, and now he's a sex and dating coach. So let's continue on. Yeah.
So I mean, my story is like when I was in school, I wanted to be a video game programmer, and eventually when I graduated college, I ended up in web programming. So like I worked for a lot of famous web companies like MySpace back in the day, and I was a programmer, you know. But at the same time, I was doing Fearless, and then what Fearless allowed me to do was like it allowed me to be a leader in my job. You know, it also allowed me to be free. So a lot of people, they would get tied to their jobs, shit jobs, and I'd be like, fuck it, this is shit job, I'm out. And they're like, you can't just leave. I'm like, I'm leaving. This is terrible. And I would leave and I go find a better job. And I would just I kept doing that. And everyone said that, huh?
You always ended up telling me you were making more than the last one.
Oh yeah. And so every single job I get a raise too. Like half the time I left, it's because I wouldn't get a raise. So I'm like, give me more money or I'm leaving. And they'd be like, you can't leave. I'd be like, well, watch me. They're like, you've only been here for like one job I wanted to raise after 9 months. They're like, it takes 2 years. I'm like, you're fat shit insane. And I went and I got like a 25K raise at the next job, you know, and shit like that. Or they're like, we'll give you a 2K raise. I'm like, a 2K raise? That's not even like inflation, you know? I was like, you guys got to do better. And being okay with like having the ground pulled out from under you. Yeah. I think that's for me. So like my past traumas, they all have to do with safety and security. And it's always been like, it's weird because I love that lifestyle, but at the same time, it's like the most difficult thing for me. Cause like I crave security. I crave, like safety. At the same time, it kills me. Like I can't stay somewhere if I'm not like being able to fully be myself or express myself and my vision and my light. And so whenever I get stifled, I'm like, I have to do something about it. And if that means like quitting a job with no prospects at all, like, yeah, don't even have your resume updated yet. Like I've done that so many times where I'm like, I need to quit because my light is going out in this job. And it's like, it's much better to be unemployed with no money, but have your light back than to be in a shit job somewhere else. So like, that's how Fearless really affected me on that side. And you had me start thinking about jobs like relationships. Like I still remember that first job where it was a really abusive job. And you were like, this is like, you're in an abusive relationship. And then that for me was like the biggest thing to be freaked out about, because I was always like, I'm never getting in an abusive relationship with a woman. And here I was in an abusive relationship with a job. And then I think before I quit, they fired me, which is great. But then I remember I felt so good. I was like, oh, I should have quit ages ago. And I'd only been there like 3 or 4 months. But it was awesome. It was a great experience. I still remember talking to you because I didn't know what to do, and I'm like walking on the beach in like Manhattan Beach because that's where it was. I'm like, Brian, what do I do? And then that's where you told me. You were like, you're in an abusive relationship.
So with that said, how much does the work at Fearless help you with stuff beyond just meeting women? Because we're really about making grounded, solid men that go out and create their own life the way it is. We have a lot of married guys in relationships, guys living with women that go through our program because they want to have not only better relationships with their wives, but they want to start companies. They want to be doing exactly what you're doing. They don't want to stay in a job that's dead end.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that? How much does it really?
I mean, it teaches you how to be a man, teaches you how to be masculine, how to be a leader, how to be vulnerable. That was another big thing for me, not to get off track, but before Fearless, I didn't have any like real friends. Like we were friends, and I mean, it was more like friends over time than actual like friendships. Like I would, be in a foxhole with this guy, I'd die with this guy, because I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I was always attacked whenever I was vulnerable as a kid growing up. So I didn't know how. And vulnerability was shamed in my family. It was like shamed like at school. There was no place I was allowed to be vulnerable as a kid. So I didn't develop those skills. I still remember the breakthrough. The breakthrough was when during one of the 3 months when Martins joined. Martins and some other dude. See, and you don't remember the other dude. And I had been with this group, me and this group had been together for we had been through 3 or 4 workshops together at this point. And then this new and then this new kid comes in, Martins, and you did this exercise for the other guy that everybody forgot because he kept disappearing. See, and he disappeared from my memory. But so this dude kept disappearing. So Brian's like everybody write down like in order of how close you are. Write down who's the top down to the lowest. And so no, not surprisingly, the new guy who kept hiding got the lowest. But then what was surprising to me was then second lowest was me on almost everyone's list. And then Martins, the new guy, was 2 or 3 on everybody's list. And I was so mad at the group. I was so pissed. And I don't think you did this for me. You did it for the other guy, but it fucking changed my life. Because I was like, what? I couldn't even talk to anybody. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? I've been with them for we've been together for 9 months at this time, with the same group of guys. And I'm second to last on everybody's list. And we took a lunch break. And then at the lunch break, I couldn't talk. And we got Chipotle. I still remember we got Chipotle. And then I was like, I had to say something. I was like, that was fucked up. And they're like, what? I'm like, I've been with you guys for so long. And it's I
didn't even know you did this. Okay, this is great.
Yeah. And it was just like how did I get second to last? And then I start going further, and then something I teach now to all my clients is there's always something underneath anger. Anger is not a settling emotion. It's like armor. It hides something. And so when I was there, I got under the anger, and then I got into the sadness where I was like, see, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because I didn't know how to make friends. And so I was crying. I started crying and I was like, how do I make friends? See, I'm getting choked up. And then Chris put his arm around me. Chris, the tall Chris.
Yeah, I remember.
And he's like, this is how, buddy, this is how. And then I'm just sobbing into his fucking arms.
Yeah.
Middle of Chipotle.
And this scares the shit out of guys getting vulnerable. And guys don't realize how much they're pushing everybody away by hiding their vulnerability.
I think that was the first time I cried in public.
Yeah.
Now I cry all the time. I cry all the fucking time. I'm crying right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to when a guy hears this and he says, "Well, what? You're going to turn me into a crying baby?" And no. I mean, maybe you cry, maybe you don't. But the point is you get really real.
I want to say in terms of there's different ways of crying. So there's dramatic ways of crying. There's the crybaby way of crying. And, that's what people, I think when they don't like crying, that's what they're talking about. But there's also a very masculine, powerful cry. where
Yes.
you're like, you're deep in your own beingness, you know, and you're really grounded and you're connected with your actual feelings. So it's like you said, it's the real feelings, the real shit, and you're not afraid of it. So then again, it's about stepping into fear, being seen. Like the act of being vulnerable means making yourself, exposing yourself to hurt, to pain. And so you choose who you be vulnerable with. And it's like, when you do that with women or with friends, with other men, it's seen as a privilege, because it's like, oh, you're choosing to be vulnerable with me, who's now a privilege. And it's like, these are your authentic feelings. And then it allows the other person to be authentic and vulnerable as well.
And so, this is not something you need to run around and do all the time.
No.
But, here and there, and I'm not talking about crying, I'm talking about showing real emotion and real feeling. Here and there, you need to do it.
Yeah.
Let somebody in so they feel safe to be with you and open up to you. That's what creates the powerful bond where you two end up lifelong friends. I know you and Martine are still friends today.
So it's become one of my superpowers. I mean, me and Martins are like best friends. But one thing that happens is, since I've learned that and I practice it every day with everyone I meet, I have like so many lifelong friends. I have dozens upon dozens of lifelong friends, people I could call up for any kind of emergency, people I could, all around the world. And then I just got done traveling around the world, or traveling around Europe at least. And like, I met so many people. Well, no, because they all live around the world. So I have friends all around the world, where like, I probably got like 50 countries where I could have a room to stay and food to eat just by calling someone up, And it's interesting, because I went from someone who had no friends, where now, like, it's not that I have too many friends, but it's like I have so many friends that I can't talk to them on a regular basis. But it's such a deep connection, it doesn't matter. Like I keep reconnecting with friends, like old friends, like friends from the old Chris's life, I keep reconnecting with, and now I have really powerful friendships now. Half the women not half the women, but like I've dated, like all the women that old Chris had a crush on, I think I've dated or boned every single one of them at this point from my past. And then a lot of them, like they're married, but now it's like there's a bond between us, and it's like, whoa, God, how many female best friends do I have? I mean, this is something I talk about a lot, that I'm a big advocate of, is if you're going to be a sexy man, you have to have lots of female friends. Like I have dozens of like platonic friendships with women where it's like, but it's vulnerable. Like we get vulnerable with each other. It's real.
I agree with this, and to a degree. The reason I say to a degree is when a guy is a nice guy and he's got 1 million female friends and none of them want to have sex, and he hasn't had sex ever or in years.
Yeah, that's bad.
Now adding more female friends is probably going to be the same thing he's been doing. It's different. We're talking about a different way of being a friend to a female.
Oh yeah. Like half the female friends I have, I've boned. So, or there's heavy sexual flirtation involved, and then there's a few where it is strictly platonic, but it's like, I'm cool with that. Like I have dozens of hot women in my life that I'm boning or that I've boned. So to have a hot woman where it's strictly platonic, I'm totally cool with, because that's part of that abundance mentality of, like, a lot of guys, when they get a connection with a woman, that's their only connection they've ever had. Because I was that guy. I remember getting obsessed. Like I had one woman I connected with in college, and then you get that one-itis. Like I got obsessed with her. I was like, she's the only one who understands me. And like, she wasn't even like that cool or that hot or that amazing. But I look back and it's like the only thing we had was we got a little bit vulnerable with each other, and just a little bit. Like compared to the vulnerability I do now, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But back then, that was it. So it's kind of like you're in a desert and you're willing to drink anything. And, not that she was like crappy desert water, but it's just for who I am, like that wasn't who I needed to be with. But I lied to myself for like, and I still remember I kept bringing her up to you, I kept bringing her up to you for years. Like, what should I do with this chick? But eventually, like it was funny because like I was boning somebody else, and then she called me, and then I like got really offended, and then she never talked to me again. And it was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I was like, totally fine.
Yeah, you got good at letting go.
Yeah.
And then how many more women come into your life after that?
Dozens. At this point, I've been with hundreds of women, and And, you know, a lot of guys, you know, like right now I'm thinking of like becoming semi-monogamous with a woman, but it's like, well, I've been with hundreds of women. I know different things. Like it's not like a need. It's not like a desperation. It's like, no, I've thoroughly thought this out, and this is something I'm willing to explore again. You know, and it doesn't feel like, sometimes when I think about that, I'd feel like, oh, like a lot of guys feel trapped. Like, oh, like to be banging one chick over and over and over again. Like, what's that like? That would suck. So like after you've been with a couple hundred women, you know, you realize like most of the best sex happens in the long-term relationships. That's when like the best, craziest sex happens.
What I find is that everything gets better if you're willing to go deeper, and that requires the ability to get vulnerable. So in a relationship, that's where you definitely need to be going deeper. If you don't want the sex to get boring, you don't want the relationship to get boring, because it will.
Exactly.
But if it keeps going that deep and keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper after a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, imagine what you two can create together.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. And most guys have no clue how to lead that.
No
clue. She'll take you there, and she will take you there, because that's the land of the female. And what'll happen is most guys will just pull out over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they won't stay there. And that's the problem. And so it looks like you're going that. So Chris is literally gone from this guy. This is kind of
we didn't even get to the middle part. The middle part is where all the fun shit happened, where like those 200 women happened.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this one thing. So you really literally went from this guy who had never had a date.
Yeah, never had a date. To
never got kissed, to a guy who's now getting kissed and then making out. And the next thing you know, he's dated several hundred women, traveled the world, has friends all over the planet. He's had sex with over 200 women, and he's also a coach himself. So that's a huge transition in 10 years?
No. I mean, we started this journey probably around 2010. So it's been about 8 years.
Yeah. So in 8 years, you've made that whole transition. And so there's a lot that happened in the middle, as you said.
Yeah.
You want to share some of that?
So in the middle, so I ended up getting my first girlfriend, and we were together for about 4.5 years. And, you know, and then with her, like that was a chance for me to go deeper. And then, and at that time, like I had dated a lot of women, but not like, you know, a couple hundred women, you know, maybe it was like 30 or something was my count, before Holly. I don't remember how many I had. Like I remember you were like, you need to keep going. You don't want to get shackled down. And I was like, well, I'm gonna live my life the way I want, because that's the way Chris does it. And you know, if I want to talk third person, I'll do it too.
My whole thing with getting a monogamous relationship is I think it's awesome, but you got
it wasn't monogamous though, so that was the thing, because I was like, well, I want to have a relationship where I have a girlfriend and we're dating other women, and then that's kind of what I got.
It started out that way, did it?
It got there real fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we were infatuated with each other, and so it went from 0 to 100 real fast. Like we had the boyfriend-girlfriend talk after a couple weeks.
Yeah. And when I say that to guys, don't get shackled down. What I'm saying is, make sure you really want monogamy. Don't just pick a girl because, well, you're a nice guy, you don't want to break up, or you're lonely, or you're sad. Make that girl feel special. If you're going to be monogamous, choose her, claim her, say, this is the girl I want to be with. And I know I want to be with her. And that's kind of why I say that. I want guys to really want it. Exactly.
So like when me and Holly hooked up, like I'm going through something similar, but it feels more powerful now. But you know, and yeah, there's similar dysfunctions going on, but it feels more powerful. But it's like it just went from 0 to 100 really fast, and it was just a connection I never had with a woman at that point, like that was that good. And then it's like, yeah, no, I'm choosing you. I want this, you know, I want to explore this. I want to see where this goes. You know, and then when we started exploring our sexuality together, then it's like, well, I still want to fuck a lot of women. You know, I still have time, you know, I got to make up for lost time. And then we found like the lifestyle, the swinger lifestyle scene. And we explored that for a while. Like we explored that for like a year or two. You know, we had lots of sex with couples, with women, with threesomes, foursomes, fivesomes, all tons of sex. We went to orgy parties, BDSM parties, everything you think of. Basically, for the first couple years, I lived every single sexual fantasy I ever had. So, like, I had a woman recently ask me, like, what's your sexual fantasies? And I'm like, I don't really have any. I've lived them all, so they're not fantasies anymore. I'm like, what's something that's in my imagination that I haven't done yet? I'm like, I haven't had a live-in slave. I don't even know if I want one though. Like, that's a lot of upkeep.
And when we refer to slave triggers a lot of people. We tested this online. We had a BDSM dom use the word slave, and that's when people would drop off the interview. Whenever they would we could see it on the video. The feed, people are watching. He starts talking about having slaves, and it goes bam, like they're all off
yeah, I'll get triggered.
Yeah, so
because people don't understand what a BDSM slave is. Like, it's consensual and it's sexy, and it's about it's about like the power dynamic, and it's the thing about it though is it's all consensual. Like, everybody's getting off on it, you know. There's a lot of women and men who get off on being submissive in different ways, and that could be through being a slave, that could be through being a sub, through being like a baby or a kitten, or all different ways of being submissive to somebody else. And it's all hot, and it's all part of that masculine feminine polarity going on. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain that for anybody that's listening that got triggered, so we don't have on the call. So continue. So you ended up at all these different swingers parties. So you ended up in rooms with having more sex in one night than some guys have in years.
Yeah. Like I forgot. I wish I remember my record. I want to say it was 13 women in one night. Might have been 9. It was 9 or 13.
You told me 9 last time.
Was it 9?
That's what you told me. So I haven't heard this 13. That's a new one, but.
No, because 13 sounds too high, but it's got 3, like it's like 9 is divisible by 3. So I'm like, it's one of those. It's either 9 or 13. But that was like my record for one night. Yeah. No, my old record was my old record was 7. My new record is 9.
13 is not divisible by 3.
No, but it has a 3 in it. See, it's 1 3.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that's how my brain works.
Okay.
It's one of those two numbers.
So I'm not don't worry about the number, guys. But the point is he's been with a lot of women in one night.
Yeah.
Those types of fantasies can be lived. You know, he's not the only guy that I know that has been with this many women in one night. He's one of many that I've met throughout the years. If you really want that sort of lifestyle. So I want to point out that this can happen.
Well, I was just commenting in one of the pickup forums because this dude is like organizing a fivesome with a bunch of chicks, and then he posted his texts, and the texts are like texts I would send. They're nothing crazy because everyone's like, "How do you do it?" And it's like he's got a chick who's into him, and it's like, "Hey, let's have a threesome." It's like, "Oh, I've never done it before." It's like, "Oh yeah, it's interesting. I'm dating another chick. You girls should meet," and then they meet, and it's cool. Or I mean, they do they send photos to each other, and it's just. Like, because a lot of guys think you got to be like real Don Juan to make this shit happen. Like, you got to know how to ask from a grounded place. Like, if you can make an ask of just like, I want to try sleeping with other women. What do you think about that? And it's like, oh, I don't like it. Or, I mean, most women would be like, I've never done it, but I'm curious. That's what most women would probably say.
But they'll only say that if they trust you.
Yeah, they have to trust you.
Yeah, if you're not a guy that they like, you have to be a grounded, solid guy. Nothing creative, no fancy Don Juan words. You have to be a grounded, solid guy that they know in the middle of the interaction when everything's going on that you're not going to get all weird, ungrounded, strange, have sexual issues come up. She's got to feel safe with you.
Yeah.
If she feels safe, and then you say, well, I like threesomes, then she'll be like, I kind of like threesomes too. And I've said that to so many girls throughout the years, and I've never got a bad reaction.
Yeah, right.
Never. I had one girl say, "Well, I would never do that with a guy. I'd never be with a guy that wanted to be with other girls." And I said, "Well, I only really want to get serious with a girl that's into other girls." And at the time, that's where I was at. It's either curious or is bi-curious or has been with other girls. And she thought about it. The next day, I get a call, and she's like, "Well, I've been thinking about what you said, and it's been driving me nuts. I couldn't even sleep last night." And then next thing you know, we're driving around and we talk about it a little bit. She talks about some of her fantasies a little bit. And she's like, I don't know. And then we're driving around. She's like, I like that girl. I like that girl. Oh my God, that girl's sexy. What do you think of her? And next thing you know, this is the next conversation. And then pretty soon she's telling me, I didn't even know I had these fantasies in me. Why are they coming out? Because she feels safe.
Yeah.
She feels safe to have them. And the average guy does not make her feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
He gets weird and insecure and jealous and envious and all that stuff. So I think that's a real key to your lifestyle. How did you get rid of the jealousy and the envy?
Like for me, for myself, it's like when I know I've got like the sex locked down, it's like, okay, nothing can really touch me, and then like when you can, like, I just totally dominate women in bed a lot of times, and they love it. And then I give them crazy orgasms that no other guy can give them. And then you feel like amazing bucks. Not that you need that validation, but for me, that's what helped me a lot with the jealousy. Was I was just like, well, I know no one can fuck you like me, so I'm fine sharing you. You're whatever, it's cool. They could have fun, but like, I'm the master.
You never had the jealousy even from the beginning. Like when you took her out and you were, did you ever start out with jealousy and you had to work it out?
Emotional jealousy. Okay. Like, I think, like, so in my brain, I can compartmentalize like sex and emotions. So like when it's just sex, it's fun. And then I don't feel threatened. I felt threatened when I tried doing open relationships and then or trying to do more poly stuff. And then it's like, oh, you're having emotions for someone else. And then that brought out a bunch of insecurities in me, a bunch of jealousy that I'm still working through. But sexual wise, I think just the way I grew up, the way like I really love sex and I know how awesome sex can be just by itself. I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, I want that from everybody's. So it's not fair. Part of it's like, if I want to have sex with a dozen women, it's not fair for me to be like, you can't have sex with other men. And then for me, I know like the emotions, the vulnerability isn't there. So there's no like threatened, like my place in the relationship isn't threatened. But then when there is vulnerability and emotions involved, then that really fucked me up. So then it's like, oh, what if I can't provide what else she needs and then she leaves me? And then that did kind of happen in my last relationship, my last serious relationship.
And I remember, I remember all that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't step up to the plate, and it's literally you were doing it. It's not that you weren't. I remember this very clearly. You were being who she needed, but then after a while, you'd start disappearing and pulling back from it. I don't know if it was the fear of not being able to continue to do it, or what. But you would start out doing it, and then and that's where the problem would be is later. Mm-hmm. And so that was interesting that you had that problem there.
I think on some level we both knew it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
I think we were both making it work.
Yeah.
And it was like a good relationship while it lasted, but like if she came back in my life, I'd be like, no, I'm done with that. I'm not going to go back to this. Like, well, I know
whole new Chris right there. Oh my God.
No, I know that relationship isn't for me. Like where I want to be, where I want to go with my life, that relationship isn't serving that at all.
Yeah, getting a lot more solid. I like it.
Yeah, I think the new relationship has potential to go there, but we got to find out, where that's going to go. So
I've been pretty comfortable with the open. I had to train myself though, but with open relationships, I've been pretty comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my girls seeing other guys. In the beginning, it bothered me, and I used to have extreme jealousy, and then I basically removed it all from my nervous system. And it takes a lot in an open relationship to make me jealous now.
Yeah.
And because I have every bit of confidence she's going to want to come back to me, even if she goes out with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so if I choose that type of relationship, I don't find myself stressing that much.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's nothing. That's why I say that much. There might be a thing here or there. That's my place to grow in that type of relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's the only type of relationship either. I'm still open to them. I still like the idea of monogamy, going deep with somebody, or I like the idea of all forms of relationship. You figure out what's right for you.
Yeah. And the other thing too, which I think a lot of people don't realize, is it's all fluid. Like in my last relationship, we were monogamous, then we were swingers, then we were monogamous, then we did an open relationship, then we were monogamous. And
you discussed it all, right?
Huh?
You discussed it all ahead of time.
Oh yeah, and you discuss it both ahead of time while it's happening. You just have lots of communication, and you don't have to like. A lot of people think it's set in stone, and like for me, I've always been unorthodox, and I'm always like, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. That's always been my life philosophy. So like, if right now you want to be monogamous, then fucking be monogamous with the same person, and then later you could be like, let's open it up, or let's see other people, or let's bring in a threesome, And it's like, people get stuck on this idea that it's like it's forever.
Yeah.
And I would say you could have a bond with a person that's forever, but the dynamics and the boundaries of that bond, they're fluid and flexible, and they could change at a moment's notice if you're open to it.
It's an interesting conversation, because you know why I went monogamous or open, the first time, was because I wanted to be better at monogamy. And what that meant for me was that I was always jealous in monogamous relationships. I was a jealous guy. So I wanted to learn to be open so that when I got in another monogamous relationship later, I wasn't jealous anymore.
Yeah.
And
that's some shit I would do.
Yeah. And so it literally took it to the extreme. And I found I kind of liked it, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then there's less of worrying about what your partner's doing. And there's less of worrying about your partner's got to be this way with you or that way with you. Or, you start to see so many dynamics and subtle things going on that when you're jealous, you just can't see. There's just so many levels to another human being. And we're trying to put everybody in a box all the time. We're trying to say they have to feel this way all the time for me. And then the other thing that we do that drives me nuts is we get them to have to lie to us. Because we're a jealous person by nature, and here's this person sitting in front of me, my partner, it's supposed to be the person that can tell me anything. And they can for the most part, but when it comes to relationships, they've got to kind of, this guy hit on me today. Well, I can't tell him that. It was cute and had a nice ass today. Well, I can't tell him that. So there's this whole world that she's living out there that she can't share with me as a partner. She's got
exactly
best friends. And I want her to be able to share anything with me and be able to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot too. Where when some boundaries get crossed, is it on, like, I mean, we've been talking a lot about boundaries with my current chick, but it's like with some of them getting crossed, is that me, like, do I want to give her like as much shit as I feel? Like, is that an overreaction from jealousy, or is it legitimate? Because then it also is like, if it's an overreaction, and then she's not going to feel comfortable sharing other stuff, and it's like, well, now you're creating that dynamic, which, like, again, you don't want. Like, you want your partner to be open and honest about everything.
Yeah, and the question is, does she break trust? That's a big question. Yeah. Did we have an agreement and she broke it without discussing me ahead of time and having a conversation about it?
Yeah,
and that's huge.
Yeah.
And what do I need right now, where I'm at in my life? I'm never, I'm not assuming I'm 100% perfect here or there. So am I putting my needs on the table in this relationship? Like a man, not needy, not like, oh, I need you to do that. No, like a man, this is what I am. This is what I need. This is what I want in a relationship. This is what I'm choosing right now.
Yeah.
Can you meet me there, and that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, so where I'm, well, I guess going into a bit of asking a little bit of help, because where I'm at right now with that is, am I being, like the difference between like needy and actual needs, and like, are they legitimate needs? Right. Or like specifically, like I have a lot of like insecurities coming out around this woman's lifestyle. Like a lot of my old insecurities coming out around abandonment, around like feeling sexy, and around feeling special, right? I have all these insecurities. And so then how much is it where it's like, I need to deal with it because they're my issues, versus like, she's the one triggering me. Like what's I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it all comes back to what you want. You can't define any of that until you know what you want. So if she doesn't know it, if you guys haven't defined what you guys want together,
mm-hmm.
How do you define how you're supposed to be together? And then how do you figure out if it's all ambiguous?
Yeah,
you're not really a couple. You at that point, she can do whatever. If it's all ambiguous, she can do whatever she wants. You do whatever you want. And you're not really a couple, you're just dating, and when you're not seeing each other, it's none of your business what she does. And that's the way it is. And if she's triggering you and you don't like it, you have one of two choices. You can either work through your emotional issues around whatever you're getting triggered by and let it go and continue to realize this girl isn't my girlfriend, or you can end it. If she's disrespecting you on purpose, trying to nab at you and hurt you, that's a different story.
Yeah. I don't think she's doing that though.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to, it gets subtler and subtler, and this is where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
When you start to look at the coquettish behavior that some women and some men have, more men are becoming coquettish, this subtle rejection stuff that they do where they're digging at people to try to get to poking. That's the behavior I don't like in people. She's not looking at you and saying, let's be open and vulnerable here, let's talk about this. She's digging at you and doing little jabs and subtle attacks. And people have this personality. People do it to try to get validation, to try to get people tied to them, to try to get people insecure. So I've in the past been drawn to coquettish women many years ago. And now when I see it, I immediately, I'm either going to end this relationship because she's not going to be there for me, or I'm going to realize she's just somebody I meet every once in a blue moon to hang out with, to have fun with.
Yeah.
And as soon as she starts that coquettish behavior, I'm going to probably walk away from it. I've done that before too. I've asked women to leave my house. As I said, this isn't working. I'm going to head on here.
Yeah.
Instant clear. Because what I want from a woman I'm dating is real open, clear communication.
Yeah. So with my current woman, she's like she's open and vulnerable, or she's open and clear around like regular vulnerability, but around the sexuality, she's very coquettish.
Mm.
So like we get really deep all the time. Like we keep it 100 all the time, but it's around the sexual escalation, around sex itself, where she's very, very coquettish. Where it's
she could be subconsciously, probably not consciously, and maybe consciously, using that to control men.
Yeah,
I'm not saying she is, but she could be.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, that could be one of her power dynamics to feel safe for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can release all that, and it has. This is the hard part. You have several options here.
Yeah.
You can call it out. You can call it out, which is going to probably piss her off, and then you're going to have to ground it out, and you have to deal with whatever comes up. But at least it puts it on the table for both of you.
Yeah.
You can let it go altogether, release on it to the point where it just doesn't bother you anymore. But then what might very well happen is you'll just lose interest in her, because that might be what's drawing you to her. And then you'll be like, whatever, you can do whatever you want, and then she'll feel that difference in you.
Yeah.
And she'll be trying to either do it harder, like you try to do it more to make up for it, or suddenly she'll get insecure because it's not working on you.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the games people play, and when a lot of people play them very unconsciously.
Yeah.
And so what I always say, if you can get really released on where you're getting triggered to where you're more free and you're open, and then you'll see the answer.
And then you can make a clear decision.
Yeah.
It's not like coming from a place of of like trauma or pain.
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't talk from a place of trauma and pain with somebody when you're hurt. Like, I need to talk with you.
Yeah.
But
I think that's
somebody. That's if somebody's willing to, meet you there. And truth is a lot of people just, especially when you first start meeting them, you're not going to want to come to them every 5 seconds, say, well, it hurts me when you do this. Can you stop? It hurts me when you do that. Can you stop?
Yeah, I know.
Now it's becoming all about you and being a victim and trying to control this person by being a victim now. So there's a balance to all this. And seeing the balance is what's really important.
Yeah. And
you're going to get better at it as the years go on. The more you release on all the places that you need her to fill a hole for you, and that just sounds dirty. Maybe you say that. Before you, as you start to see all the places where she is, like, you ask yourself, where is she? Where do I need her to make me feel a certain way? And we talked about this. Where do I need her to make me feel a certain way? Because I can't feel that way without her. Like, I think I need her to feel this way.
Yeah.
And that's something you're lacking inside you. And then can you start working on whatever that is?
Yeah. No, I've been doing that all week. It's been great.
Yeah. I see the difference in your personality in 1 week with her. We always need kryptonite, right? And so this girl became your new kryptonite. And that's beautiful because a lot of girls don't affect you like they used to. And this was your
this is the first. I haven't had a woman challenge me like this since fucking Patricia.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to do this without doing the Bucharest workshop. Like, I would not have been able to handle her the first week if I had not done the shit with Patricia.
Yeah, Patricia's one of our animals in Bucharest. She's an awesome woman. I call her animal because she's tough like an animal. She'll come at you to try to man you up, and she's one of the women.
She's like the most, like she's one of the most intuitive women that I've ever worked with. The only other woman who's more intuitive, or at least on the same class of intuition, is the girl I'm dating right now.
Yeah. She's not just intuitive; she's also tough.
She's tough. So she's intuitive and tough, and won't put up with you if you're not like bringing in 100, as a man.
Yeah, she wants you in your masculine
all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So like no weakness is allowed.
Yeah. So Patricia's like lifting a lot of weights when you stand in front of her.
Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm lifting this new weight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
You never stop growing, man. It's fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. So we talked about a lot of things, and what I'd like to do is summarize really quick. What do you think? What do you feel are the concrete changes in your life that Fearless has given you? Not just, you can talk about emotionally and literally. What are the results? How is your life different because of Fearless? Can you summarize that?
Oh yeah. To summarize, like how my life is different because of Fearless. One is I became a man through Fearless. Like before, I don't think I could have called myself a man. Now I feel very comfortable calling myself a man. And when other people call me a man, like before it used to freak me out, like, you're calling me a man? And now it's like, no, I'm a fucking man. And what that entails is like really being a leader, really being in my body fully with my emotions, and being okay with like my masculine energy, that aggressive energy, the energy to get shit done. Before I wasn't okay with that energy, before I shied away from it. And now I step into it all the time. Now it's a part of me. And because of that, I attract a lot of women. I get a lot of pussy, not gonna lie. But I also, I get a lot of friends. So now I have a lot of friends, and I'm a leader. Like, people want to follow me. I've had lots of, like, when I was in programming, like if I went back to programming, like if I had capital, I could probably get like 100 tech engineers to come with me, to quit their jobs to come with me right now. Like if I had $10 million just to start a company, they wouldn't even know what it was. Like just from my time in technology. And now, Fearless also gave me the ability to kind of, I never trusted myself, didn't trust my vision, my gut, my body, my mind, anything. I was very I did not trust anything. Now I wouldn't say it's cured, but I trust myself a lot more. I got rid of my job and I traveled the world, for what, like 6 months. I planned to travel the world for a lot longer, but I came back because I decided to start my own business. And so now I'm staying in LA to start a new business, to really build out a coaching company, around like sex and dating and masculinity, kind of like, similar to Fearless, but with a different niche, around like the sex, which is like my forte. Is like that sexuality. So like the two people I kind of think about are like the guys who are really, really bad. Like the guys where like they suck, like even Fearless can't help them, because I was similar. Like I had every issue. I was like, I can help a lot of the troubled cases at the beginning. And then I want the graduates of Fearless who like, I want to do crazy sex stuff. And I'm like, I can teach you how to do that too. So those are like the kind of guys I've been liking to help. Like the sad cases and the advanced cases. And then, and like, I just took a business seminar, like I just spent like total on, I forgot the total. I think I spent like $9,000 on like business coaching, and I hired 2 business coaches and a marketer. And I'm getting started with my business coach tomorrow. So I'm really excited. And then I think next week I'll get started with the marketer, and I'm like, I want to build my business into an actual business, because right now it's all like word of mouth, which is cool. It's a small business, but now I'm ready to take it big. But here's the thing that Fearless gave me is I was not okay with not knowing. And now I'm comfortable. Maybe comfortable is a strong word, but now I'm okay with not knowing. So like when I left for Europe, I had a one-way ticket to Bucharest to do your workshop. and I had nothing else planned. So like on the last day of my Airbnb, I'm like, where am I going to go next? And then I was like, oh, I'll go here. Oh, and then I saw the Wim Hof documentary, and I was like, oh my God, I'm next to Poland. And I looked, and like Poland's so Wim Hof is the Iceman. He teaches you how to do mind over body, like cold exposure, how to climb a mountain wearing nothing but your shorts in the middle of winter. And I saw the documentary. I wanted to join him. When I was in Europe, I looked him up, and he was there, and there was one opening left on his expedition into the Polish mountains. So I signed up. And part of it was because I had no plans. So after my Airbnb ended, I flew to Poland, and I was in the mountains for a week with Wim Hof, and where I really tested my body and my mind more than I ever had, in my focus. And so I climbed a mountain, and we got hit by a blizzard. So we're up a mountain in a blizzard. It's like minus 20 degrees Celsius. The wind speed is like 70 kilometers an hour. And we're wearing nothing but shorts. And the whole time I'm focused, breathing, meditating, climbing a fucking mountain, and then that was one of the most intense experiences of my life. And because of the Fearless, it made it so much better. So because of all the work I did in Fearless, that's where I made probably 40 lifelong friends at that event. Like, because I was able to get deep, I was able to be vulnerable, I was a leader, I was grounded, and I was courageous. And everybody saw it, and I was just, they were all drawn to me, and I was drawn to them. And like one thing that I found most interesting, because so when you sign up, there's 3 coaching groups, and like each one has its own person who's in charge of it. But like I was like probably the only guy who made a bunch of close friends in like every single group. And then like I even fucked up my room assignment, so I ended up in a room with people from another group, which I wasn't supposed to be in. But then we became like best friends too. And then like all these people, like because most people just stayed in their groups, but me, it was like I had dozens of friends outside of my main group. And then I had a travel buddy after that. And so traveling Europe, so I backpacked with Europe with a buddy I met at the Wim Hof thing. And we stayed at hostels and Airbnbs, and we met tons of people. And I helped him bone this really hot Spanish chick in the hostel. That not like I helped like provide, I set it up and then he knocked it down. But it was that was teamwork. That was a team effort. But anyways, so much shit happened all because of Fearless. I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like I wouldn't have been able to make friends. Like even if I wanted to go to Wim Hof, I probably would have gone, maybe, if I had the money, but I wouldn't have made friends. I would have gone and it would have been nice. I might have gotten semi-close to 1 or 2 people and never talked to them again. And it wouldn't have been an amazing experience. It would have been like, oh, okay, it was nice. But Fearless opened me up. I noticed that too. Like whenever I do workshops, like when I was at the business workshop, like that business workshop, I blew up. Like I got all these business connections and everybody was drawn to me. Like it's when you get good at the Fearless stuff, people are just drawn to you. Like people were fighting to sit next to me at the business workshop so they could talk to me. Same thing. I still remember like in Bucharest when all the ladies were fighting to work with me. That's Fearless to the extreme where it's like Fearless happening in Fearless. It's very meta. But like there was one point where this one chick really wanted to work with me and she stood in front of me, and then this other chick like bumped her out of the way and was like, ooh, and then she was all happy. And then the queen comes over, Patricia, and she's like, nope, and she pushed her out the way and she's like, we're going. I was like, damn, I feel like $1 million right now. Nice. But it's like that's normal now. That happens all the time. Whenever I'm in a seminar or a group setting, like just draw people and I get vulnerable and I don't notice it. It just happens. Like it's not conscious. It just happens. And then people comment and they're like, wow, like you're so vulnerable or you're so courageous. And I'm like, I don't notice. It's just all on autopilot.
Yeah.
And then when I do it on purpose, it's like that much deeper. Like when I'm with my chick and I'm like, we have to get vulnerable right now. Like this is some serious shit. And then it's like whoosh. But then that's how you get the high quality women, the women who are unlike any other women because you're taking them deeper than anybody else. So that's what
In
Fearless
some cases,
did
that's
for
how
me.
you bring out the best in these women. So
Yeah.
because you're being so grounded, she's willing to drop deeper into her feminine. Maybe she's never been with another guy,
Yeah.
and bring out the best of herself for you because you're giving her the best of yourself. And it's
So like the current woman I'm dating, we've had a lot of firsts for her like that. Like she's done a lot of things, and I believe her. Like I don't think she's lying. Just we've done a lot of vulnerable things that she's never done with a guy.
nice.
I fully believe her when she says it. I mean, yeah, she could be exaggerating, but I don't think so, based on the quality of men she's been with before me. But it's like, yeah, and then she's given me a lot of firsts too. Like there's been a lot of firsts, like we keep taking each other deeper. And I think that's part of the addiction where it's coming from, where you get addicted to going deep.
So with all this, there's a lot of deep stuff. And with all this, it started with you.
It was supposed to be a summary, but it's webbed out.
Yeah. It all started with you as a virgin, all the way to becoming getting over virginity to a guy who slept with over 300 or 200 or hundreds of women, as you put it.
I think hundreds of women is accurate.
Okay, to a guy who's traveled the world, started his own. It not only blew his job up in the sense that he went from job to job, making more and more money with every job, becoming a lead programmer, top programmer at every job.
Yeah. Like if I wanted to, I could probably be making like $300K as a programmer right now if I went back to programming, but I don't want to.
So then you left that and you developed your own, started your own business, traveled the world. Now you're building that business bigger.
Yeah.
And you make friends everywhere you go.
Yeah. And I sleep with any, like the kind of women I'm sleeping with now are the kind of women in magazines.
Yeah.
And I mean, this chick literally was in magazines, she's a tattoo model and amongst other things. And so it's like even the Chris the Chris from like the Chris when he was with Holly didn't believe he could be with a chick like this. And that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I didn't think I could be with a chick like that. So, I mean, it just keeps getting better, and that's why I always go back and do a Fearless thing every year or two because you got to keep going deeper, like without doing the Bucharest thing, I wouldn't have been ready for this adventure right now. So we'll see what happens in the future.
You're very coachable and you absorb the material very well. And it's beautiful to see that. And I really
even just from last week.
Well, it's amazing from the little conversation we had last week, how much you've implemented.
Yeah.
A lot of it's in your body. I just needed to remind you. And then I reminded you, you were like, oh yeah, duh. And then you went back and you've been straightening it all out.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of releasing. I've been getting into that old trauma. I mean, that's one thing. The gift that difficult women give you is they give you the gift of healing from your trauma.
Yeah. They build your self-esteem. If you let them, if you do it right, you will build your self-esteem.
Yeah.
If you don't, you can destroy your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah.
No, exactly. So, I mean, right now where I'm at, God, even just from like yesterday, I was in the spins, and right now I just feel so solid in where I'm at. Even though like my current chick, she's really mad at me. We're going through some shit, and this is the most solid I've ever felt. And this is the most crazy, angry, pissed off she's ever been. And this is the most like at ease I've ever been. Like, because I finally stepped into, I think I stepped fully into my masculine, like right now with these issues. And it's like, I feel great. I feel great about it. I mean, I feel bad that she's feeling this way, but I feel great where I'm at,
Yeah. Yeah. You stopped being needy and you stopped giving away your power. You reclaimed your power, and she's testing you to make sure that you're serious and you're solid, that you're not going to cave next week again. And I'm sure in the end, she's going to love it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what we have to do. That's part of your masculine, man. That's part of your penetrating energy. I'm going to show up anyways. Even in the middle of this storm, I'm going to show up anyways.
Yeah.
And I
think that's the hardest thing for me, because just my patterns of growing up, like my life was a storm as a kid, so I always shrunk and hid from the storm. And it's like, and then if I showed up more as a kid, the storm got worse.
Yeah.
So I have 18, 20 some fucking years of dealing with those kind of like abusive type of emotions. you know, as a kid, like with my parents and the household I grew up in, there was a lot of that storm.
Yep.
And so it's like I'm fighting those old habits, the old habits that you've learned as a kid, those old defense mechanisms.
That's how a nice guy gets built.
Once you realize that as a man, you get to reclaim that. You don't have to. I think reclaiming is a good word. Like you're reclaiming all of that dysfunction, and you're taking it back. And you're like, I'm not that little boy anymore. I can handle it. And your body is like, no. Like the funny part is like your body's like, no, you can't handle it. And then you like your soul or your consciousness has to be like, no, you can. And your body gets used to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like even sometimes right now, my body's like, no, it's starting to shrink. And then but with all the fearless work, your consciousness becomes very powerful, and then you could override your body, you know. And then that happened. I mean, you did that physically with Wim Hof in the cold, but like I'm doing it right now with the fearless, with like I'm in the storm and my body wants to make the storm go away, and instead, like you said, the attractive, masculine, powerful thing to do is to penetrate the storm. You know, not be a dick about it, you know, and you might accidentally be a dick, but that's better than being a nice guy, I think.
Yeah, no. How do you walk through the storm like a man, you know, versus denying it's there or huddling inside till it goes away? And that's what most guys do. They want to huddle and wait for the storm to go away instead of getting out there and playing in it. And it's funny. It's an interesting analogy for me because I love winter, man. I love getting up there. No, I love storms. When I'm up there and there's a storm going on and I'm in my Jeep and I'm flying through the snow and I got the 4-wheel drive on and I'm going to go up there and ski or board for the day and all that powder. And I'll be hiking. I'll be fighting through points of where I'll get stuck. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's every minute, because at the end of that day, you never, even while you're doing it, at the end of that day, you never feel so alive.
Yeah.
And because that's where growth happens.
Yeah.
We grow in those times, man. We need that just as much as we need rest. And you know, if you're going to go lift some weights, heavy weights, and you feel amazing because you really pumped a lot of iron, you also need rest to rebuild the muscle. And that combo, it's actually nutrition, rest, and stressing the body, really stepping into that stress and owning it proactively is a winning combo. And it's in everything we do. Yeah. You know? And you'll see it in that you know, it's a triangle, and you'll see it in everything you do.
Yeah. So
I want to thank you for being on the call, man.
I want to thank you. This is a great call.
Yeah. We dug into a lot of deep stuff, and it was really, and it's neat to see always showing up a little bit more. I mean, you're always improving, you're always growing, you're always getting to the next level. So so just keep it up, man. And I'm sure we'll have another call at some point. And do you have a website yet? Not yet. I mean, it's going to be, well, I don't know what it's going to be. After I talk to the marketer, I might change it. So like right now, it's called Sexual Leadership is like the course I teach. So there's like sexualleadership.com, but it's just a placeholder website. But in the next month, there will be something there. Do you have an email? Chris at sexualleadership.com. Okay. Well, that's good enough. We'll put that out there. Chris CH. All right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome, Chris. So guys, remember, comment. We'd love to hear your comments, because that tells us what you want to hear more of. It also allows us to interact with you and give you more conversations. And who knows, Chris might be checking out these comments himself in this video. So make sure to check out those comments. Well, I always comment on everything. Yeah. He's a comment nut, and he might leave some. So be ready for that. Remember to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and one more thing, remember, only the confident really live. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.